A 23-year-old man from South Manchester has been arrested by Greater Manchester Police in relation to the attack at the Manchester Arena. There is no further information other than that. So a clear message to whoever's behind the man who carried out the atrocity that yes, the police are on their trail, and the news that the Islamic State group has claimed responsibility for this attack hasn't really surprised anybody here in Manchester. One wonders to what degree the Islamic State group may or may not have actually been involved in this, whether it was commissioned, whether it was inspired, but in some way, shape or form it just plays into the terror franchise ethos of that group and the idea of spreading terror among people by its omnipresence. So without philosophizing too much about that, let's get down to the bones of this story, which of course are shocking. 22 people killed, many of them children, and as we've heard, Ariana Grande popular among teenage girls, and I interviewed an 11-year-old girl, Isabella McCourt, who was there for their first ever gig with her mum. They enjoyed it and right until the very last, until there was this deafening blast, and then the panic and horror that followed, and the things they saw will probably live with them for the rest of their lives. The explosive device used by the attacker was a typical IED, but it was packed with screws, nuts, bolts, a typical sort of nail bomb, if you like, the kind of thing that is designed to create maximum damage wherever it explodes, and especially if it explodes in a confined space, as was the case inside the Manchester Arena, a place where music is played, a place where sports events take place, a place where there's boxing. That's the kind of combat they expect to see there. But last night, of course, the people being knocked about, hit about, were being knocked about by this terrorist deciding to detonate himself with his own IED. The police, of course, treating this as a terror investigation almost from the off when it happened.
Mark, what do we know about the victims?
The victims, all, of course, fans of Ariana Grande, and in many ways reflecting, in so many ways, that singer's seeming philosophy, or professional philosophy on life anyway. Having fun, bright attitude, you see their images, you see their pictures. It really makes it all the more heartbreaking to see the kind of youngsters who lost their lives. We don't know, of course, the identity of many at this precise moment in time. There are families still waiting to find out what's happened to their loved one. And one can only imagine the heartbreak and pain that they are going through, in addition to the knowledge, perhaps, that they've lost someone incredibly dear to them. So, yes, the people cut down at the beginning of their life, I suppose you could put it that way. It just underlines more and more the atrocious nature of what's happened, and of course the depth of the tragedy facing people here in Manchester. Many people here, of course, I've been here all day, all morning, all day, meeting people, talking to people, and you know, this is a place where people welcome you. But there's been behind that welcome a strong sense of dread, of mourning. People basically thinking, why did it happen here? How is this allowed to happen here? There are questions being asked about the security at the Manchester Arena. Going inside, people saying the security checks weren't as stringent as they could have been. Coming out, well, there's a dilemma, because this happened when people were leaving the arena. So you leave the arena, doors open, people are coming out, someone can easily pop back in, and it appears that that is what has happened. So the investigation trying to concentrate on who may have been behind the perpetrator. We've had one arrest so far. There's been another arrest in Manchester at the nearby Arndale shopping precinct. Now that is not related to this actual investigation to what happened at the Manchester Arena, but in a way it is linked, because it was something that sparked a crowd panic and people running. Again, that fear aspect, that terror aspect implanted into people's minds, into people's psyches by what happened last night, which has sown fear throughout this community. Normally a warm place, a welcoming place, that won't stop. But people are going to take a long time, many generations perhaps, to get over what they've seen here. An atrocious night, which people clearly are still very much taking to heart here in Manchester.